It was a typical Saturday afternoon, just like any other. I had been in the garage for hours, tinkering with my bike. I'm 20 now and living with my dad, who recently remarried Linda, a woman nearly 3 times my age. Linda is 60, but you'd never guess by looking at her she's full of energy and carries an undeniable elegance. I didn't expect this day to be anything out of the ordinary. As I tightened the final bolt, I heard the house door leading to the garage creak open. I barely noticed, assuming it was just my dad checking on me. But then I heard her voice, soft yet assertive. "Hey, you've been spending a lot of time in here," Linda remarked, stepping into the garage. I glanced up and saw her standing in the doorway, wearing a light dress that clung to her figure in ways that were hard to ignore. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, as always, but it was her eyes that caught me off guard. They were different, almost playful. "Just wrapping up with the bike," I replied, wiping the sweat from my forehead with my arm. I tried not to stare, but there was something about her presence that was impossible to ignore. "You know," she continued, walking toward me, her heels clicking on the concrete floor, "I don't usually come down to the garage, but I was curious about what you were up to." I chuckled nervously. "Yeah, not much to see here, just tools and grease." She smiled, a warm smile that always brightened the room, but today it felt more intense. She leaned against the workbench just a few feet away. "You've been working so hard lately. Don't you think you deserve a break?" she suggested, her words hanging in the air, making the garage suddenly feel smaller. I felt her gaze, and for the first time, she didn't just seem like my dad's wife. There was something else there, something I couldn't quite identify. "Maybe," I muttered, trying to keep my voice steady. I turned back to the bike, pretending to adjust a bolt that didn't need tightening. "You don't have to be shy around me," she said, her voice softer now. I felt her hand on my shoulder and I froze. Her touch was light, almost hesitant, but it sent a shiver down my spine. "You've grown up so much," she whispered, her fingers lightly trailing down my arm. I swallowed hard, my heart racing. "Linda," I stammered, but she hushed me, stepping closer until her body brushed against mine. "It's okay," she said, her hand moving to my neck. Before I could react, she leaned in and kissed me. It started softly but quickly deepened, her lips warm and insistent. I couldn't process what was happening. All I knew was that I wasn't pulling away. Her hands roamed to my chest, slipping under my shirt, her fingers tracing my muscles. I felt like I was dreaming, and part of me didn't want to wake up. "Linda, we shouldn't," I whispered against her lips, but she just smiled, her green eyes locking onto mine. "Why not?" she teased, her voice playful. "Your dad's out for the day, and it's just the two of us." Her fingers toyed with the hem of my shirt before pulling it off over my head. I was breathless, caught in a whirlwind of emotions I couldn't understand, but her touch, her kisses, they were intoxicating. She pushed me back against the workbench, her lips moving down my neck, her hands exploring my body with a confidence that left me powerless. "We've got plenty of time," she whispered, her kisses becoming more urgent. I didn't know how things had escalated so quickly, but in that moment nothing else mattered. It was just me and her, the world outside fading as the tension between us built with every touch, every kiss. Her lips pressed against mine, soft yet hungry, as if we had crossed an invisible line that we couldn't retreat from. The garage felt like it was closing in around us, the air thick with tension. Her hands roamed my chest, her fingers tracing every line as if she had been waiting for this moment. "Linda," I whispered again. But this time my voice was steady, without hesitation. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a desire I hadn't seen before, pure, undeniable desire. She moved closer, pressing her body against mine, and I felt her warmth through her dress. Every touch made my pulse race faster. Every brush of her skin against mine made me want more. It wasn't just the physical closeness, it was the unspoken connection that had always been there but never acknowledged. "I've seen the way you look at me," she murmured, her lips brushing my ear. "Don't think I haven't noticed." I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. She was right. I had tried to ignore it, to push those thoughts away, but now there was no denying it. I had been drawn to her for months, maybe since she first moved in, but I never let myself admit it until now. Her hands slid lower, and I shivered at her touch, feeling the cool air on my skin as she slowly pulled off my shirt. She took her time, savoring every second, as if she was unwrapping a long-awaited gift. "You don't need to hold back," she whispered, her lips brushing my neck, sending shivers down my spine. "I knew you wanted this as much as I did." but I couldn't speak or even think. My body moved on its own, my hands instinctively finding her waist and pulling her closer. She smiled, a satisfied, knowing smile, like she had been waiting for me to make the first move. Her fingers tangled in my hair as she kissed me again, deeper and more passionately this time. The world beyond the garage disappeared, it was just her and me, lost in the moment. Her dress slipped down her shoulders, revealing smooth skin, and I found myself captivated by every inch of her. She was much older than me, which only seemed to make the moment more intense, the forbidden nature of what we were doing. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't, and didn't want to, stop. She guided me to the old couch in the corner of the garage, the one I used to sit on to clear my head. Now, it served a completely different purpose. She sat down and pulled me with her, her eyes locked on mine. "This stays between us," she whispered, her lips so close to mine. "No one needs to know, it's just you and me." I nodded, my heart pounding, and leaned in to kiss her again, our bodies pressing together in a way that felt both wrong and incredibly right. Each kiss, each touch was like pouring fuel on a fire, and the more we indulged, the harder it was to pull away. For what felt like hours, we stayed wrapped up in each other, lost in the heat of the moment. It was as if time had stopped, and nothing else mattered, not my dad, not the consequences, just the way her body moved against mine, the way she whispered my name. But eventually reality intruded. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway jolted us, and we sprang apart, our breath ragged, bodies still trembling from what had just happened. "Your dad's home," she said breathlessly as she quickly fixed her dress, smoothing it down as if nothing had occurred. I hurriedly grabbed my shirt, pulling it on, my mind racing. Linda turned to me, her expression serious but still with a spark in her eyes. "Remember, no one can ever know about this," she whispered. I nodded, still catching my breath, still trying to make sense of what had just happened. As she opened the door to the house, she paused, glancing back with a smile that sent another shiver down my spine. "We'll talk later," she said softly before disappearing inside, leaving me standing in the garage, alone with my thoughts and the memory of her touch. I stood there a moment longer, my heart still racing, wondering how everything had changed so fast. I sat on the edge of the bed, weighed down by what had just happened. But before Linda could fully walk out the door, she hesitated, her hand on the doorknob, as if she was struggling with herself. Slowly, she turned back to me, her expression softer now, lacking the finality I had felt earlier. Instead, there was something hopeful. "Look," she began, her voice tender. "I meant what I said about this being complicated, but that doesn't mean it was wrong. I just wasn't expecting this, wasn't expecting to feel this way." She stepped back toward me, sitting down on the bed, closer this time. "I've been fighting it too, trying to ignore it." I looked at her, searching her face. "Then why does it have to end like this?" I asked. She gave a small smile, her eyes twinkling with something softer. "Maybe it doesn't," she whispered. "Maybe it's not about what can't happen, but about what we need to figure out together." A moment of silence passed as we absorbed the shift in our conversation. I could feel the tension between us easing, replaced by something more genuine and honest. Linda reached out and gently took my hand. "I don't want to lose whatever this is between us," she said softly. "But we have to be careful, take it slow. I don't want to hurt anyone, especially not your dad. But I also don't want to pretend this didn't happen." My heart lifted. Maybe it didn't have to be all or nothing. Maybe there was a way for us to explore our feelings without it being the end of everything. "So, what do we do?" I asked, cautiously hopeful. She smiled, that warm and inviting smile of hers, and squeezed my hand. "We take our time, figure it out. No rushing, no more hiding from these feelings, but we keep it between us until we know what we're doing." It wasn't perfect, but it was more than I had hoped for. There was no shame or regret, just potential, something that could slowly grow into whatever we wanted it to be. Linda leaned in, and when she kissed me this time, it wasn't urgent or guilty, it was soft, tender, and full of the promise of something new. A future we hadn't expected, but one we could now explore together. She pulled back slightly, her eyes meeting mine with a quiet intensity. "We'll figure it out," she whispered, and I knew she was right. We had time, and more importantly, we had a connection, a chance to make this work, however long it might take. The heaviness from earlier lifted, replaced by a sense of possibility. As we sat there side by side, the room felt brighter, the weight of secrecy and guilt replaced by hope for what could come next. This was just the beginning.